Welcome to the Self-Love Lifestyle Podcast. I am your host, Melanie Monaco, and I am so honored to be connecting with you today through these sound waves. I'm a master self-love coach. I train and certify self-love coaches. I hold numerous certifications and practices like archetypal psychology, energy healing, intuitive eating, and more. But most importantly, I am on a mission to guide others in manifesting more self-love. Self-love empowers us with the tools to not only love and accept ourselves deeply, but to expand our compassion for those around us. Practicing self-love means alchemizing life's challenges by transmuting pain into purpose and viewing obstacles as opportunities for deepening self-awareness and understanding. In this podcast, I'll be sharing inspiration for your own healing journey, guided rituals, spiritual insight, as well as candid conversations with the amazing goddesses on my team and other leaders in the wellness space as well. My hope is that at the end of each episode, you feel empowered, inspired, and more connected to your most authentic self. Self-love may be a personal journey, but it is not a journey that we have to do alone. I am infinitely grateful for our amazing community, and by listening, you are now part of our community too. Thank you for being here. Now let's dive in. Hi, welcome back to the Self-Love Lifestyle. I'm really excited for today's podcast episode because this topic was specifically requested by members of our community. So a couple weeks ago, I put out a poll on my Instagram and I was asking what topics you all were most interested in hearing. And one person messaged me about body positivity, and then there was even more encouragement around that from the community. And so I'm really looking forward to diving deep into this. And if you go back to my older podcast episodes, you'll see that I talk so much about the body, about the relationship we have to our bodies, intuitive eating. But it's been a while since I went live on Instagram or created any content around body positivity. I've often found what's true in my healing journey is I talk a lot about what I'm currently moving through. And with the podcast, I took quite a long pause. And so body positivity has not been on the forefront of my mind. I've had other things that I've been working through and other things I've been helping clients with. So for a long time as a coach, I was working primarily with my clients on their relationship to their bodies. And my business has evolved in the last couple of years where most people who are coming to me are looking for spiritual advice and business advice. Those topics can definitely be woven together, which I can talk a little bit about today, but I wanted to really honor the request of going deeper with body positivity. And then I also had some great comments come through on my Instagram about what body positivity means to those in our community and what healing work they've done to move through this. So I'm just going to start by sharing some of the responses I received when I asked the community what their biggest struggles were with their relationship to their body and cultivating body positivity. So one of our community members said that her biggest struggle is the way she talks to herself about her body. Another shared that, she really has placed her value in her appearance. Another shared that she feels like her body is in constant pain and she beats herself up in the mirror. She just feels like her body is weak. Another person shared that she feels like she's judged because of her weight. So the through line with these responses is that there's kind of two things going on. One is the fear we have of the way other people perceive us. And then one are the thoughts that we are having in our own mind about our bodies. What I found in my relationship to my body is when I had a more volatile relationship to my body, I was constantly afraid that people were judging me, and I was kind of making up phrases in my mind of what I thought people were thinking about my body. And then that became weaponized in my internal dialogue for, really disparaging comments I was thinking towards my own body. I want to make it really known in this conversation that we live in a culture where it is a bonding experience often for women, but it can also be for men and any gender identifications, to bond over hating their bodies. So like there's that classic scene in Mean Girls where they're talking about like, oh, I hate this, I hate that. And then, Katie's like, I don't like, or I smell bad, or my breath stinks, or whatever it was. And now everyone's like, what? And I know Mean Girls, gosh, was it like 20 years ago? It was a long time ago. But yeah, it still is prevalent. I actually recently, 2 or 3 months ago, I was in my hometown in Santa Barbara, and I was walking around, and it was the day of the farmers market, so there was a lot of people out and about. And there was a group of women. I want to say they were maybe in their 50s or 60s. There was probably 5 or 6 of them. And I walked by them a total of 3 times. And the first time I walked by them, they were sitting at a wine bar, and they were talking about calories and carbs and dieting. And then I walked by them again, closer to the farmer's market, and they were talking about the same stuff, calories and carbs and dieting. And then the third time I walked by them, this was like in the course of an hour, they were still talking about it. And I just had this heartbreaking moment of like, these women, rather than having conversations about like, the real stuff that was going on in their lives and like, helping each other out with advice, they were instead like giving each other dieting advice on how to change their bodies. And I've been in those conversations. So many of the women in my family have these conversations. I grew up around these conversations where every single holiday gathering is an opportunity for the women to compare their bodies to each other and to say, oh, I'm going to eat, a ton today, but I'm going to go on a diet tomorrow. Oh, what diet are you going on? So diet culture is real, it's prevalent, and it persists in our communities, in so many small ways where it's actually really hard to remove ourselves from it. For me, I had to put up a lot of boundaries in my family where I literally had to say, you can't talk to me about my body. I don't want to talk about dieting, and expressed to those who were willing to listen of like, I had an eating disorder, so that's why I have to have these boundaries. But you don't even need to give a reason. And so if you're somebody who is struggling with your relationship to your body, I want you to witness the conversations happening around you in your immediate community, in your family, on social media, and see where you can put up boundaries around those conversations that are contributing to those thoughts. If you have a relationship with somebody, a friend or a loved one who's constantly talking about their body in a disparaging way or talking about their diets, feel free to say, hey, I really don't want to talk badly about your body or my body, and we have so many other things that we can talk about, and change the subject. It's really as simple as that. And there are going to be some people who won't respond well to that, who just won't get it. And you can really just have let's agree to disagree, but like it's harmful for me to have these conversations. And I know that like you wouldn't want us to have conversations that were hurting me. And I think we can just talk about other things. There are great ways to communicate your needs and uphold those boundaries in a way that's compassionate towards others. When I was really getting into repairing my relationship to my body, would even get more defensive, and just get angry when people would talk about diet culture. And that's I think a part of the journey, but isn't necessary. We don't need to come after people or make them feel poorly about where they're at in their relationship to their bodies. Again, making this about us and protecting us, I think, is going to be the most compassionate way to communicate. So that's kind of hitting the external world, the influences that are coming towards us in regards to, what we think we need to look like and where our thoughts are. And when you're able to start upholding those boundaries, you can really start focusing on your internal self. Because if we don't first start figuring out, okay, where are these ideals coming from, anything that we do to try to repair a relationship to our body is just going to be surface level. So, and we're going to keep getting re-triggered by conversation. So if we're able to do that first, I think that's a great first step. The next step is to figure out where your relationship to your body first came into disrepair or first became, a challenge. For me, I was it's probably as long as I can remember, 5, 6, 7 years old. I was put on my first diet when I was 7. So I had to go back and really do the work, inner child healing, and forgiving my parents for doing the best they could with the information that they had. Even though it ended up being more damaging to me in the long run, they were in their mind trying to make it so that I was healthy and well-liked by people. But, it's really important that we not only forgive ourselves, but that we forgive other people. And I know it's easier said than done, but that's part of the process. And if you're working with a coach or if you do one of my programs, you'll know that self-forgiveness is the first step that we do. So that's really key. So when you go back, you figure out, okay, where did these things begin within me? You can start to do that healing work. It might look like journaling. It might look like meditation. I really recommend working with a practitioner. We have hundreds of self-love coaches, and I have my programs and offerings too. So, if you need resources, feel free to reach out to me. You can send me a DM on Instagram at The Self-Love Lifestyle, or an email, melanie@melaniemonaco.com. Okay. So we have those 2 steps. So figure out, where the triggers are coming from externally, put boundaries up there, figure out where it came from initially. When the disrepair with your body first started, do that healing work. And then be very aware of the ways in which these thoughts are coming up and uphold boundaries with yourself. So when I became aware, I was constantly comparing myself to others. Rather than going deeper into that thought loop, I would notice it. So I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm comparing myself to these other people, these other women. And I would pause and I'd find something beautiful about them to acknowledge. So I'd say, oh, wow, she has really beautiful hair. And then I would find something beautiful about myself to acknowledge. Oh, I really love my laugh, even if it's not physical, because I know that can be a challenge for some people, but just find something and just be like, great, we both have beauty within us. Okay. So that's a really wonderful thought replacement. Another thing to notice is when the thoughts are coming up for you. So like one of our community members shared, when I'm looking in the mirror, I'm beating myself up, right? And so one thing that some of my clients have found to be really helpful is putting your affirmations on sticky notes on the mirror. And I actually did that for myself in high school. And this was around the time I had an eating disorder. I was really trying to love my body simultaneously while having an eating disorder, even from a pretty young age. It was a journey, but, putting an affirmation on your mirror of, even if you don't think that you're beautiful yet, something like, I am willing to see the beauty within myself. Just so that you remember when you look in the mirror that you have a willingness. I think that is such a key point to creating affirmations, is if you're not there yet of I am beautiful, you can say I am willing to see my beauty. So that's a really fun tool that I've seen success with. But I think awareness is really key, and then having a thought ready to replace the challenging thought. Okay, so again, doing the thought replacement will only be long-term effective if you're also doing that deep work and boundary setting, like I talked about as the first 2 points. So I want to make that really clear. If we're just doing affirmations, but we're not doing like that inner child healing, it's not going to be nearly as effective. So make sure you're doing the deeper work. And I think it does really help to work with a practitioner of some sort, like a coach or a therapist or a mentor or a community of some kind. The other part is, figuring out the way that you want to talk to yourself. Your thoughts are really powerful. And I know firsthand, as somebody who has struggled with like clinical depression, how hard it is when you're having those thoughts to get out of them. And so this is where we want to be mindful of not getting into toxic positivity of like, oh, your thoughts, anything that happens in your life is because of your thoughts. I really don't believe that to be true. And I know that's what's preached in a lot of the law of attraction manifestation communities, but it ends up creating more detrimental thoughts where you have a negative thought and then you're like, oh, like I had a negative thought. I'm so bad, right? And now I'm going to manifest something bad. And that's just not the case. If every single thing we thought manifested, life would be like so chaotic. I feel like the world would explode. So, just know that like a bad thought does not mean you're a bad person or that something bad is going to happen. But cultivating awareness is the number one thing. And so, what can we do to cultivate awareness? We can begin to bring tools and practices into our day-to-day to help us do that. So any kind of mindfulness practice, breath work, meditation, mindful movement, even, if you're a busy person and you don't feel like you have time to meditate or you're not like into meditation, just being really mindful as you're doing your daily tasks. So if you're doing dishes rather than like listening to music or watching a TV show, just like really notice the soap bubbles, notice how your hands feel, notice the cracks in the grooves if you have those on your dishes or whatever. Like just pay attention to things. And when you're being that present, it allows your nervous system to regulate. And so anything that you're able to do to regulate your nervous system, getting outside, taking deep breaths, all of that, doing something like that every day will help you cultivate more self-awareness so that when those thoughts come up, you're able to be aware of them and then ideally shift them. And it again takes practice. So none of these tools happen overnight or the first time you do them. This is a process. And what I want you to remember is that in this process, if you're able to have forgiveness and grace with yourself, if you're not going to get it perfect, it's not going to be overnight, but the more that you practice it, the easier it gets and the more progress you'll make. I want to share, I think this is a really good time to share some of the advice that our community shared about body positivity. So one community member said, oh, yep, this is exactly what I was saying. If you start thinking something negative, find a part of yourself that you love. Another said, practice breathing in kindness, create space within. Another said, start by saying, you're perfect just the way you are, and spirit doesn't make mistakes. Yeah. Another says, show gratitude for waking up and seeing another beautiful day. Another community member says, understand that the media plays a huge part and profits off of us hating our bodies. What is portrayed in the media is not realistic of typical bodies. Yes, so that's huge. I love that that was shared, because that's, again, being really mindful of the influences that are coming towards us. And so whether it's, people in our lives or, the media we're consuming on social media or on TV or movies, just remembering like that is not a reflection of your worthiness. And yeah, the diet industry is a very profitable industry. And so there's a lot of people who profit off of us hating our bodies, for sure. I have a statistic that I was circulating around for a while, and I might quote it wrong right now because it's been a while since I've pulled this statistic out from my mind. But I think it's, the average woman spends 17 years on a diet, and then there's something crazy like, tens of thousands of dollars on diet products. And when we are really able to like sit in that, like 17 years, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's 17 years hating your body. And then, tens of thousands of dollars on dieting products. I mean, how much of our time and resources are we exchanging just to perpetuate hating our body? It's so sad. And again, it's not our fault. Like this is the society we live in. And I do think things are changing, but it is our responsibility to create that change internally. And then that does, go outward into the world through our interactions with others and the energy that we create. With the body positivity, one of the specific questions asked, I want to hear more about body positivity, feeling heavy versus feeling light. And I really want to take a moment to say that health is possible at any size. And so feeling heavy, the question that I want you to consider, if you feel heavy, if you think you're a heavy person, do you feel heavy because of what you're eating or how you're moving? Like, is there a heaviness, a sluggishness, a lethargy because of your nutritional consumption and your like physical exertion or lack thereof? Or do you feel heavy because you're carrying the weight of an unrealistic expectation of your body? What are you carrying? Are you carrying the weight of, feeling like you're not worthy of love unless you look a certain way? That's heavy, that's really heavy. And so if you're able to do this work of repairing your relationship to your body, you're going to release that emotional, mental, spiritual weight. And I will say what I learned from working with so many clients on this is that it changes the way you treat your body. It's totally different to show up nourishing your body with food and movement when it's from a place of love versus a place of shame and obligation. It's not about self-discipline. It's about nourishment and care from a really authentic, loving place. It's not because you should eat a certain way or exercise a certain way. It's because you want to take care of your body. And there were so many years of my life where I really wasn't listening to my body and I felt heavy. I was eating healthfully. I had like a tinge of orthorexia, which is the description of an eating disorder where you feel like you can only eat the cleanest, purest foods. So I was like a raw foodist in high school, but that was totally masked as, that masking an eating disorder. And even if you're eating really healthfully, if you're carrying that weight of hating your body, you're going to feel heavy. And vice versa. You might not be nourishing your body appropriately, So making sure that you are doing that is key. But the only way to get to know your body is to listen. And the only way to listen to your body is to create space in your thoughts. If you're constantly disparaging your body and your thoughts, you need to start to open up your thoughts to actually hearing your body's needs and desires and responding with care. It's a process and a practice. And, I took like 6 months for so many of my clients to move through this. I had 6-month programs with clients where that was the focus. And over the course of those 6 months, they experienced the freedom in their bodies they were looking for. But, it's not an overnight thing. I hope that all of this has given you a lot of space to open up in your relationship to your body, to find more love, to find more self-forgiveness, to find more confidence. I have confidence in you. When we talk about body confidence, it's such a specific phrase, like, and body positivity, cultivate, rather than, how do I want to say this? Rather than focusing on like changing your body, focus on cultivating positivity, focus on cultivating confidence, and the body positivity and the body confidence will follow. Our relationships to our bodies are so interconnected with so many other aspects of our relationships to ourselves. And so you'll find that by healing your relationship to your body, other aspects of your life are going to begin to expand and heal as well. I love talking about this. If you aren't already aware, I think that it's really important to look at the self-love roadmap, which is the coaching framework I created working with my clients. I have a lot of information on this in my old Instagram videos, and I believe there's a podcast episode about it. But really quickly, it's self-forgiveness, self-acceptance, self-gratitude, self-care, and self-trust. Moving through these 5 steps is going to be a step-by-step process for you to cultivate self-love. So the first step, self-forgiveness. Forgive yourself for not meeting society's expectations. Forgive yourself for holding the belief systems of, not being worthy or beautiful or enough. Forgive the people who, taught these belief systems to you. And then move into acceptance, accepting that your body might not be what society wants it to be. And that's okay. Accepting that your body has a set size that it's healthiest at, even if that doesn't fit into the BMI. It's a whole other conversation, but the BMI is actually wasn't intended for individual use. It was intended to use over like large groups of people. So when doctors use the BMI as a way to say you're healthy or not, it's really inaccurate. I really recommend using blood tests instead, metabolic blood panels, thyroid, hormones, all of that is going to tell you if you're nourishing your body appropriately, if you're caring for your body appropriately. And naturopathic medicine is a great way to go deeper into your relationship to your body from, what you're eating and consuming. Okay, that's self-acceptance. Self-gratitude. So starting to practice gratitude for yourself, starting to practice grateful thoughts, that thought replacement is that self-gratitude practice. And then care, self-care, what you're grateful for, you care for. It's a really organic evolution from this point. And the more that you care yourself, the more you're proving to yourself that you're worthy of love, that you're capable of self-love, that you're capable of nourishment. And through proving to yourself again and again that you can take care of yourself, you develop self-trust. And then there's, the thoughts of like, oh, I'm not disciplined enough, or, I'm never going to get it, or I'm never going to do that. Those thoughts start to dissipate because you trust yourself to get through it. You trust yourself to rise up to the challenge, and you trust that even as the obstacles come up, you're going to return to self-love, and practicing this again and again as a cycle. One of their team members, Soraya, calls this the self-love cycle. It brings you home to yourself, and it's beautiful. It's adaptable to almost any situation, any relationship that you have, whether it's with your body, whether it's, with a specific life circumstance, like a traumatic event, if it's, in relationship to your relationship with money or your work, or, it's like so versatile, the self-love roadmap. But that's just an outline of the ways in which you can begin to utilize it with the relationship you have to your body. So I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions or if you had any aha moments that came up during this podcast, if you want to share anything with me, I'd love to hear from you. Please send me a DM at The Self Love Lifestyle or an email at melanie@melaniemonaco.com. And if you have any requests for upcoming podcast topics, I would love to hear from you. I'm really excited to be doing this work with you here, to be sharing more with you on this platform, and I'll see you soon for another episode. Oh, and I want to thank you all so much for your sweet, gentle, caring responses from my last episode, which was a really vulnerable share. It was the birth of my son, the story of the birth of my son. I just really appreciate everything you've shared with me. I just want to say thank you. I'm grateful for you. So you can find me on Instagram. If you want to learn more about our self-love coaches, go to theselflovelifestyle.com. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Have a beautiful day.